name's Colleen and I have a very active lifestyle. We travel a lot. I have 7 grandchildren. I like sport, I like travel. I had a high-end excitement in the fashion industry in the 80s and the 90s, helped generate new labels in Australia for young designers that are now sold around the world. And I'm also a fashion stylist and put ladies' wardrobes together for them, which I now am retired and do volunteering work over anything else to helping other people in the community. Doing a lot of running and walking in my life, I realised I went on holidays and was running around a lake in New Jersey, of all places, with my granddaughter, which I then showed her how nanas do knee squats. I stood up and apparently I'd ripped my meniscal tendon right off the back of my knee. So the journey of the rest of our holidays for 5 weeks over to Europe and back was Colleen spent in a knee brace. Coming back to Melbourne, I went straight and saw my knee surgeon, Dr. Andrew Tang, and he said, "Oh, you've ripped the meniscal tear, you've got a Baker's cyst in the back of your knee. We can drain the Baker's cyst, but you are going to need in the future a whole new knee." My attitude was, no, I'm not. So I had the Baker's cyst drained twice, cortisone once, and then went back full throttle into Pilates to build up the muscles in my legs. And eventually I limped into Andrew Tang's office in November last year, and I had to concede that I actually did need a new knee.
My name's Andrew Chang, I'm an orthopaedic surgeon. I've been a surgeon since 1994, so this would be the 26th year. I'm currently the director of the Musculoskeletal Institute at Epworth Healthcare, and I primarily look after lower limb problems, especially problems of the knee joint. I've known Colleen as a patient since 2017. I've looked after both her knees. Initially it was the right knee for a problem of meniscal pathology, and then more recently the left knee. We've been through a journey together with the management of her osteoarthritic left knee. She's tried all the conservative measures initially, including physiotherapy, medication, use of injectables, and when all conservative measures had been exhausted and she was still getting pain, loss of function and instability, the only option left to discuss with her was a surgical solution. As the community is more and more aware, an arthroscope performed for an arthritic knee does not necessarily yield a long-term or highly beneficial result. So I went through the process of discussing what her surgical options were, and for her it was a knee replacement, and after discussing the indications and the need for it, we then decided on getting a robotic assisted knee replacement done, and this was performed last year, and she's done very well in the 4 or so months since it's been done.
So into hospital 2 weeks later, and I had a whole new titanium knee put in. My femur bone was being eaten by osteoarthritis, as my whole kneecap and knee had been eaten by osteoarthritis. 6 days after the operation, I was then discharged from hospital and went home and went into a really big rehab organisation, did my physio, my hydropool. From July last year to now being March 2020, it's been a long road to be pain-free with my now new knee. So it would have taken me 6 months in preparation or of pain and preparation to strengthening my knee. Before the operation, I couldn't even walk around the block because of the pain, let alone bend my knee. Everyday life was a real trial, particularly walking, just ordinary everyday walking.
The indications for surgery were Colleens, really. Individual requirements for her knee, her activities of daily living. Different patients have different thresholds to get a replacement done. And in fact, what we don't do is impose limits on patients before we will do the operation. Once they've met the criteria, that is, they have the disease on the x-ray, clinically we know that the disease is causing their pain, the timing of the surgery then is entirely up to the patient. Colleen, as you know, and as I've mentioned, went through the gamut of conservative treatment for quite a while, for 2 years, before she got it done.
Now I have a tightness in my knee and I have the heaviness of the titanium, but it's not comparable to the pain that I suffered early before I had my knee replaced. But it'll take a whole year for me to get back to full stride and to lose the tightness that's in your kneecap.
The new innovations in orthopaedic surgery now revolve primarily around, with specific regard to joint replacement, proper alignment of the implants, accurate placement of the implants, soft tissue balancing after the replacement has been done. These are different to the initial hurdles we faced, which were more to do with fixation of the implants, durability of the bearing surfaces. These things seem to have been dealt with as time progresses. So we are really focusing now on outcomes, functional outcomes, stability, return to activity, and that's the future horizon for joint replacement surgery. The introduction of robotic surgery has allowed us to use another tool to accurately place the implants in a desired position. There may be a benefit of robotic surgery with regards to functional outcome and length of stay, but there are no large population studies that have been published yet. We are lucky in this country to have a joint replacement registry, and as part of the ongoing study, all joint replacement patients are going to eventually get a patient-related outcome measure performed. Epworth is lucky in that we are one of the pilot hospitals for this. We're the only private one, I think, in Australia that's taking part in the PROM study, and that is because we do the most number of joint replacements at Epworth Healthcare in the country per annum. And as part of that, the robotic surgery patients will be looked at, and we will be able to tell at the end of that time definitively whether or not robotic surgery has altered things such as return to function, time to return to function, length of stay in hospital, and pain requirements immediately post-operative, or pain relief requirements, I should say, immediately post-operatively.
In my everyday life, 1 day a week, I volunteer at a local hospital here in Melbourne, which as a volunteer you probably get up to 12 to 13,000 steps a day. So it's fantastic to be back doing something where you can move, you can smile, you can make other people happy, but you're also getting up your 15,000 steps a day, which is great rehab for a new knee.